Picture this. A woman dares to cook on television. She shares stories of her journey. She builds a business. And suddenly, the entire British press machinery erupts as if she'd declared war on the Crown itself. Welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales, where we cut through the noise to find the truth. I'm Adrian, and today we're diving deep into the latest storm surrounding Meghan's Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, because apparently even cooking can be controversial when you're Meghan Markle. My dear friends, here we are again, gathered in this space where truth meets tabloid fiction, where we separate the signal from the noise, and what a cacophony of noise surrounds us today. Meghan's new Netflix series has launched, and with it, the predictable chorus of British media outrage. But today, we must look deeper than the headlines, shall we? For beneath this manufactured controversy lies a far more important story about courage, authenticity, and the relentless resilience of a woman who refuses to be silenced. Now, what exactly has sent the critics into such a frenzy this time? Some have dismissed her new show as inoffensive, at best imagine that being an insult, and contrived at worst. Others have seized upon her mention of the royal family's restrictions, particularly the infamous neutral tights decree, as evidence of her inability to move on. But let me pause here and ask you something. When did honesty about one's experiences become a crime? When did sharing the small, suffocating details of institutional control become grounds for mockery? These seemingly trivial requirements, the neutral tights, the beige wardrobe, the constant suppression of personality, they weren't just fashion choices. They were symbols of a much larger machinery designed to erase individuality in favour of institutional uniformity. You see, my friends, what Meghan's critics cannot grasp is that these details matter precisely because they reveal the insidious nature of control. It's never the big dramatic moments that break a person's spirit, it's the thousand tiny cuts, the daily reminders that you are not allowed to be yourself. The fact that she mentions these restrictions isn't dwelling on the past, it's illuminating the present reality of what it means to reclaim your identity after it's been systematically stripped away. And here we encounter one of the most fascinating paradoxes of Meghan's public existence. The same voices that demand she be authentic are the first to tear her down when she shares authentic experiences. They want her truth, but only the palatable parts. They want her story, but only the chapters that don't implicate beloved institutions. This is the impossible position Meghan finds herself in. Damned if she speaks, damned if she stays silent. When she shares her genuine experiences of restriction and isolation within the royal family, she's accused of playing the victim. When she pivots to focus on her new ventures and positive messaging, she's dismissed as inauthentic or calculating. But here's what I find remarkable. Despite this impossible standard, Meghan continues to speak her truth. Not the truth her critics want to hear, not the sanitized version that would make everyone comfortable, but her truth. Raw, sometimes painful, always human. Consider the courage that requires. Every time Meghan opens her mouth, she knows it will be dissected, twisted and weaponized against her, yet she speaks anyway. That's not attention-seeking, that's heroic. Now let's address this curious obsession with relatability that seems to plague every discussion of Meghan's work. Critics sneer that she cannot possibly be relatable while selling products or living in Montecito. They reduce her human experiences to price points and postal codes, as if geography determines authenticity. But may I remind you, relatability was never about bank balances or property values. Relatability is about emotion. It's about the universal experiences that connect us all, the anxiety of starting something new, the pain of feeling misunderstood, the joy of sharing a meal with loved ones, the vulnerability of putting yourself out there despite knowing you'll be criticized. When Meghan speaks about missing her children while traveling, every working parent recognizes that ache. When she talks about the pressure to conform, every person who's ever felt like an outsider understands that struggle. When she shares her journey from restriction to freedom, every individual who's ever broken free from toxic situations sees their own reflection. To reduce these profound human experiences to punchlines about jam prices isn't just unfair, it's deliberately obtuse. It's a refusal to engage with the substance in favor of the superficial. Another fascinating thread in this narrative is the obsession with Harry's absence from Meghan's cooking show. Suddenly, every critic has become a marriage counsellor, reading separation into independence, discord into individual pursuits. How remarkable that in 2025 we still struggle with the concept that a married couple can pursue separate professional projects without it signalling relationship troubles. Harry has his Invictus Games, his memoir, his documentary work. Meghan has her lifestyle brand, her Netflix series, her Archewell initiatives. Both support each other's endeavours while maintaining their individual identities. Isn't this what we should want from partnerships? Two whole people who choose to be together, not two halves desperately clinging to each other for completion. The very fact that Meghan can confidently host a cooking show without needing Harry by her side should be celebrated as a sign of a healthy, secure relationship, not pathologized as evidence of marital discord. But here's the deeper truth. The critics need to see cracks in their partnership because a united, thriving Harry and Meghan is far too threatening to the narrative they've constructed. Let's take a moment to examine the machinery at work here. When Meghan launches a Netflix series, despite it being a success, the British press responds with remarkable unanimity. These are just a few examples that people are loving it. Katie Scott tweeted, "I cannot tell you how much I love with love Meghan Season 2. Season 1 was great, but she hit it out of the park with Season 2. Tried not to binge, but I did." Alexa Driss also tweeted, "Jose Andres is such a funny, happy man with love. Meghan Season 2 now streaming on Netflix. It was such a joy and laughter. I loved every episode. We even had Notorious JTB saying, and I quote, 'Season 2 of With Love, Meghan is Meghan at her best.' Elevated recipes, world-class chefs who are her friends, culture shapers as guests, and a crew filled with women. Her palate, her style, her respect, her joy. This is quiet luxury in action." But the British tabloids, from left-leaning publications to conservative tabloids, the message is consistent. Mockery, dismissal, and barely concealed hostility. This isn't coincidence, it's coordination. It's a media ecosystem that has invested too heavily in one narrative to allow alternative stories to flourish. They've built careers on Meghan bashing, sold millions of papers on manufactured controversies, and created entire cottage industries around her supposed failures. But here's what's fascinating. While the British press remains united in their criticism, the actual reception of Meghan's work tells a different story. Her products sell out. Celebrities line up to appear on her shows. Millions tune in worldwide, not because they think she's perfect, but because they find something genuine in her approach to life and storytelling. The disconnect is stark and revealing. While legacy media clings to old narratives, audiences are voting with their attention and their wallets. They're choosing Meghan's version of her story over the versions being sold about her. At its core, this entire controversy reveals something profound about power, control, and freedom. Meghan's crime isn't cooking badly or selling overpriced jam, it's refusing to remain trapped in the role that was written for her. The royal institution, like many traditional power structures, functions on the premise of control. Everyone has their place, their prescribed role, their acceptable boundaries. Meghan was assigned the role of the grateful American who would smile prettily and speak only when spoken to. The fact that she rejected this role first by leaving, then by thriving outside of it, represents a fundamental challenge to the system itself. Every success she achieves, every boundary she crosses, every new venture she launches is proof that the institution's power over her was never real. It was only effective as long as she accepted it. Her freedom exposes their limitations. Her authenticity highlights their artificiality. Her joy reveals their joylessness. This is why her critics can never allow her to simply succeed quietly. Her very existence as a free, speaking, creating woman is a constant reminder that the golden cage was always unlocked. She just had the courage to walk through the door. What strikes me most about Meghan's journey is how it exemplifies genuine growth. She's not pretending the royal family years didn't happen. She's integrating those experiences into her current understanding of herself and the world. Real healing doesn't mean forgetting the past or pretending trauma didn't occur. Real healing means being able to speak about difficult experiences without being consumed by them, using painful lessons as foundation stones for something better. When Meghan references her royal restrictions in the context of her current freedom, she's not dwelling, she's demonstrating how far she's travelled. This is what authentic transformation looks like. Messy, ongoing, sometimes imperfect, but always moving toward greater self-awareness and agency. The critics want her frozen in time, either as the perfect princess or the bitter exile. But Meghan refuses both roles, choosing instead the more challenging path of continuous becoming. As we reach the end of today's journey together, let me leave you with this thought. In a world that increasingly values performance over authenticity, Meghan's commitment to speaking her truth, however imperfectly, is actually revolutionary. She could have chosen silence. She could have accepted the generous settlement that comes with keeping royal secrets. She could have faded into wealthy obscurity, living comfortably but quietly. Instead, she chose the harder path, building a life and a voice in public, knowing every step would be scrutinized, every word weaponized. That choice to remain visible, vulnerable, and vocal is what transforms personal healing into cultural contribution. Because every time Meghan refuses to be silenced, she gives permission to others to speak their truths too. Every time she chooses authenticity over approval, she demonstrates that such choices are possible. So let the critics write their reviews, let the tabloids spin their narratives. Those of us listening carefully can hear something different. The sound of a woman who has found her voice and refuses to lower it for anyone's comfort. The truth, my friends, has a way of outlasting all the noise. And Meghan's truth, complicated, evolving, uncompromisingly human, will be here long after the headlines fade. Until next time, this is Adrian, your faithful companion on these tales of truth and transformation. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, in a world full of performed lives, authenticity is the rarest and most precious gift we can offer each other.